Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa and I am a textile artist, embroiderer, weaver, and knitter. And I'm here today to share a little bit about my most recent experience traveling to Rhinebeck, New York for the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival 2023. I had so much fun. This was my second year attending the show, and it was just a great time. Saturday was the first day of the festival, and I did not go on Saturday. I was celebrating my friend's 30th birthday in Providence, Rhode Island. And so I attended the show on Sunday, and it was just so cool to experience another sheep and wool festival, feel connected to the making community, meet some really talented artists, creators, and makers, and of course, purchase some really fun things. Before I go into showing you what I purchased, I figured I would just give you a little background on who I am. I'm really doing this podcast for myself and my own enjoyment more than anything, but if any of you happen to come across this video, I can just give you a little background info on me. I am a textile artist based out of Traverse City, Michigan. I attended the Rhode Island School of Design in Providence, Rhode Island, for a 4-year textile degree. And I graduated from there in 2016. And since then, I've worked in the fashion industry for companies like Lilly Pulitzer. I've done some print design work, and now I have my own embroidery business where I sew unique home products and children's products and accessories. And then recently I've gone into making bags with my embroidered designs on them. And I'm really excited to share those on this platform just as a way to feel more connected to all the makers out there. I love weaving. Any fabric exploration project I can do, I love to do. I have a loom, a spinning wheel, an embroidery machine, all the tools, and they make me so happy. And I'm constantly trying to push my work forward by creating unique designs. I love to illustrate really interesting folk inspired pieces based on vintage textiles. Behind me is a lot of the books that I collect and magazines and things I'm constantly inspired by. But I figured I could just jump right into showing you a little bit about what I got at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and then also the sweater I made to wear to the festival. So I did the tessellated sweater by Andrea Mowry, and I did it in Erin Moore Light by the Fiber Company, and I'll link that yarn in our notes. The fabric itself, you can see, is just a really beautiful all over slip stitch pattern, which creates this almost checkerboard effect. A lot of the sweaters you've probably seen were done in a spin cycle yarn, which are really lovely, but I wanted to create something more tonal and solid in color. So mine doesn't tessellate in the way that some of them do with color shifting. It's just solid and creates this almost tweedy herringbone English style. Kind of reminds me of like a country English side sweater. It's been so cozy. I kind of broke it in this weekend because I wore it to the festival, but then I also just wore it a lot on my travels and on the airplane to save space for all the things I bought. So I'm really excited with this one. This is only the second sweater I've ever made, so I'm really proud of the progress in which I've done on this and the things I've learned. The tubular cast on was very challenging for this one, for me. I'd never done that before, and it was so many stitches. I think it was like over 300 for the bottom because it's bottom up. And then there was also tubular cast off for the neckline and the sleeves. So that was new for me as well to learn that skill. But I'm really happy with the sweater, and I know I'm just gonna have it forever. It still needs to be blocked because I finished it just in the nick of time to go to the Sheep and Wolves Festival. But let's get into the fun stuff I got at the festival. So I've recently gotten into spinning, and I came across this booth that had amazing roving, and this roving is called Party in a Bag, and I got 2 bags of it, and it is just the most wild colors of fluff. Like, it's really fun. There's almost like every color you can imagine within here, and there's also some sparkle kind of I don't know what you call that, but coming through it, there's some mixes of silk and wool and some blended colors. And I'm very new to spinning, but I figured this would be a really fun project to get a sweater's quantity of and just make like probably something in between a worsted weight I'm hoping for, that has some chunky inconsistencies, but kind of spins up a rainbow color, and then ply like a few bobbins together for a 2-ply situation. So I'll link where I received this roving from. I need to find out where it was. It was one of those things I just walked by in one of the barns, and I was like, yeah, party in a bag. We need that. There's so much color here, so much variation. It's fluffy, it's fun. It's going to take some work to get it all ready for spinning. I think I might just have to kind of draft it out and lay it out in a manner in which I want to spin it, but the colors are beautiful. It makes me happy. It honestly almost gives me a Halloween vibe with just like the way the colors are interacting. It's fall and neutral, but has some pops. So that was probably my first purchase of the day. And then I was walking by another booth, and this booth had yarns from Peace Love Yarn, and this colorway is Brazil wood, and it is a 65% Surrey alpaca, 35% silk base, and it's a lace weight, but it's just the most beautiful color. I loved that. I was like very in the mood for like coppery, warm tones, just the time of year, but then also just like pieces in my wardrobe that are neutral and can match with all sorts of things, just because it takes me so long to make a piece. I want the pieces that I have in my wardrobe to be super wearable. So that's kind of where I'm at with my making journey right now. And I got 4 skeins of this Peace Love yarn, and I will link their website for anyone who's interested. It feels wonderful. I also thought the price was quite good for a Surrey alpaca silk base. It was $26. So I got a sweater's quantity of that. I'm really excited. These are yarns that were really unique to me, and just like got me real excited to see in person. Then I passed by the booth called Loop of the Loom. And they do a lot of really interesting Japanese textiles and yarns. And this boucle is just so beautiful. You can kind of capture the texture here. It's a lace weight, truest lace form, with tiny little boucle bits all along it. And it feels crunchy and still squishy. And I want to include this into some of my weavings to bring some texture into them. And I want to just knit up a real small swatch to see what happens when this is knit up, because this may be a material that I want to work with again and again. And if that's so, I might want to just keep purchasing it. So the Loop of the Loom was a really cool booth. They had paper yarns, and they had beautiful linen blends of all sorts of different textures and crispness. And then they had mud dyes, which I've never tried, but that was really intriguing to me and something I might want to play with in the future. So it was really cool to find them just as a resource to order from in the future. So this was a really great purchase. I got one skein. There is actually 780 yards on this one skein. So I thought that was a really nice amount to play with. And then I love little project bags, and I knew I wanted to get some type of project bag at Rhinebeck, and I passed by this booth called Cottontail Farms, and they had these really adorable little cups, little bags with a leather handle, and I figured this would make such a great little walking bag, or just going from sofa to bedroom to living room, for me, for like making socks. And then you can just like poke your needles right in it, and this moves down and can also unclip, so you could possibly like clip this onto something to make it walkable. It has the sweetest little illustrations of like foxes and rabbits and butterflies and deer. So when I saw this, like color-wise, it almost matches the backdrop you can see here. So this is kind of my true heart style right here. And it was just like real sweet. So that was my little pocket of fun. And I know the print is designed by someone. I think it's Pencils and Parsley, something like that. I'll link it. But the person who sews them is Cottontail Farms, and she partners with this print designer to make these bags. So it was a real fun purchase. Dang, there is so much. I really tried to be minimal, but it was hard. I got a souvenir. I got a sweatshirt, which is somewhere in the other room, and then I also got the really sweet logo for Rhinebeck this year, and it is such a fun illustration. I felt like I wore my sweatshirt all the time last year, and I also had these like little project bags, and I love these for socks and just like throwing things in a bag and drawstring pull. They had like really large project bags too, which were really cool, but I was trying to like not buy the whole booth. So excited about this little project bag and the sweatshirt too. I also got this cute little old style Rhinebeck Workshops rock pin. It's a big pin, so I might change it into a magnet, or I might just pin it right onto my project bag. I thought it was really cute. It made me happy, so bought that too. Then one of my favorite vendors from last year when I went to the festival was Woodchuck Products, and this is his brochure. He does not have a website. He does everything by this brochure, and his wood tools are so beautiful. I purchased a shuttle from him last year along with a drop spindle, and I really loved it so much, and I just couldn't stop thinking about how excited I was to come to the festival this year and see him again and purchase from him, because these are tools that I will treasure forever. They're made with such impeccable craftsmanship, consideration for the wood, the artists themselves who use them. I know he has like a following of people who just go back year after year and purchase his wood products. So I got a few things. The first being these really sweet little shuttles. You could wrap yarn around them, but I wanted to get them because once I get better at spinning, I want to have little embroidery threads that I do myself, and I bought 4 of these to put my hand spun thread or floss onto. And I love the size, and they were all $4.35 or around that. And the wood, they're different types of wood, but all kind of the same like coloring. But as you can see, they're just the most lovely texture, shape, and they're very light, which I loved. And then I got one of his wooden tapestry needles, which is so cool. I love tapestry needles. I feel like you can never have enough, and I figured it'd be so nice to put into my little wooden notions box. So that was a little treasure find. And then I use a spinning wheel, but I also have a drop spindle from him. And then this is his ultra light drop spindle, which I just really wanted to try. I felt like this could also be fun to play with spinning really fine yarns on and seeing what happens. So I was like, gotta get it. Great little tool. Excited to try it out. I'll keep you posted on what it's like to spin on. Next, I have Crave Yarn, which was so unbelievably soft. I got it in 3 skeins, and my plan for this one, I really came in with a plan for the yarns. This one I'm going to probably make either the Oslo sweater or the Stockholm sweater if I petite knit in this one. And then this one I'm thinking I'll probably make the very classic no frill sweater by Petite Knit. I really loved the color. It's a really nice neutral. It will match a lot of things. And this yarn, the reason I was drawn to it was it's a yarn that is 70% superwash ultra fine merino, which is like a very, you can get that yarn often, like at 80% of that. But this has 10% cashmere and then 10% camel and 10% mulberry silk. So you have that quality that everyone really loves about superwash merino, but it's blended with that cashmere, camel, and silk. So it makes for what I think is going to be a very drapey fabric, but also really fine and soft to the touch, which, I mean, you can get that with super fine merino, but it's just so soft and drapey, and I'm really excited to play with this. And it's hand dyed with care in New York, and the couple who runs this company, it's called yarnculture.com. They've worked really hard to develop this yarn called Crave Yarn. And they carry some really beautiful things, and their booth was really well laid out. They were super helpful. They took the time to help me calculate my yardage, for adjusting for the change of, yarn substitution, what would be appropriate. They were just a really sweet couple. So I'll also link their website, yarnculture.com, for you. My friend Julia, who was with me, also purchased this yarn in a different color. But we are really excited about it. We loved the hand feel of it. As people who love a good yarn, we were excited. So that was the 3rd yarn purchase. And then this is the 4th one. Fiber Optic Yarns was a yarn that I purchased last year at Rhinebeck, and the sock yarn itself. And I was so excited about going back to their booth this year because it's not often that you get a 10% cashmere blend with your superwash merino. At least for me, it's not always something I have access to from my local yarn stores. So I was really excited about this one, and the color is called Dulce de Leche, and the color is 0123 Dulce de Leche. And it feels so lovely. It kind of had a golden tone to it with the neutral, and the woman behind Faber Optics, I think her colors, like her saturation, but also her consideration for colors, are some of the best I've seen at Rhinebeck for an indie dyer. I also think it's really lovely the way she organized her booth. She puts a knit swatch of every one of her sock bases, so you can see what it looks like knit up, which I always think is so nice because it's hard to tell with some of those variegated skeins what they're gonna look like knit up. So this yarn I was very excited. It's called Cashmere, like Kashmir, and they call it their fingering weight. And it's by Kimber Baldwin Designs LLC Fiber Optics, and it was $31 for a skein. So I think these socks would be really fun. I'm thinking the Cider House socks by Summer Lee would be really sweet with like a white stripe. So it has that sporty feel, but also with the neutral color would be a fun contrast. So that was my other yarn purchase. It doesn't stop there. I have 2 more big yarn purchases to show. Then I went to Zellweger Wool, which is kind of cool because they're based out of Frankenmuth, Michigan, which is not that far from me, maybe 3.5 hours or so from here in Traverse City. And I got these 2 beautiful cheese wheel pies of pencil roving. It's really fun, and I've not always been a huge fan of the unspun yarns just because I don't always understand the practicality of them. But for this, I figured it could be really fun to weave with, so that is a possibility for it. But then also I've been really wanting to make the Boquera basket on Ravelry, and I thought this would make a really lovely basket when it's held double and knit at like a very specific gauge to achieve the pattern that I wanted with it. So this was such a fun purchase. They're really fun and cushy. Also like one of those things that I'm not gonna find everywhere at my local yarn store. And they got a great squish to them. I've never knit with like a Nutidin yarn, but I think Nutidin is kind of similar, but maybe a little bit finer than this. So I'm curious about it. I want to try it out. And if I ever have the opportunity to try a Nutidin, I can compare it and let you all know what I thought. But this was really cool to support a local to me farmer at a huge festival like Sheep and Wool. And they were just super sweet. So I purchased that. There went all my books that just fell, so why not show you those next? The Merrick bookstore section of the Rhinebeck Festival, I think, is probably one of the treasures that people might miss. I don't know, whenever I went into the book section, it was quieter on Sunday, and I had time to meet the authors of these amazing books. Lawn Publishing is one of my favorite publishers of hand knitting, and I've bought a few of their magazines locally, but I haven't gotten to see a lot of these newer books in person and have the time to flip through them. So the first one I purchased was Paula Pereira's Textured Knits book, and she actually signed this for me, and I met and talked with her for a moment. She was super sweet. She showed me all the samples, let me take pictures of the samples, and she also let me take a look at the inside of the book, and she signed it for me, and we talked about the style of this sweater that's on the cover. It's such a beautiful sweater. It almost looks like cables, but it's not as pronounced as a traditional cable. So I'm curious how that texture is created. Textured Knits is a thoughtfully created collection of contemporary and timeless hand knits. The book includes sweaters, cardigans, shawls, pairs of socks, and 20 fascinating patterns featuring a variety of inventive ways to combine different textures such as cables, colorwork, and embroidery. So Paula wrote, "Dear Alyssa, I hope Textured Knits inspires you. Happy knitting always." And she's a Brazilian knitwear designer. And like usual with Lawn, the photos in this book are just incredible and beautiful and abstract. They're not always taken in the most traditional way. They usually highlight very specific parts of a sweater design or pattern. And so this book I was just really excited about. It's one that came out a little bit ago from Lawn, but was one that I was like, ooh, I just need to see it in person. And getting to meet Paula and speak with her about her work was really amazing. I loved this sweater here. So yeah, this book was lovely. And she was also she had a very sweet soul. Talking with her, she was really excited to have me purchase her book, and I was excited to meet her, so we had a little fun there. Then Grand Shetland Adventures was right next to Paula, and this is Mary Jane Mucklestone and Gudrun Johnston, and the book is called Grand Shetland Adventure Knits. And this book was really cool because I love working with color in my own work, with my embroidery designs and textiles, and I'm always inspired by traditional folk designs. And this book has really beautiful photos in it, but then also some fun content about techniques of color work, traditional Shetland designs, and I really need to read it to know more. I'm very interested in their work process. I asked Gudrun some questions about how long she's been doing color work and kind of her journey into it, and then also Mary Jane's as well. So this book is beautiful, and on the back you can see a really sweet photo of them together, and the hat that Mary Jane is wearing there is in the book. The one pattern I'm probably most excited to knit is the socks, so I'll flip to that page for you all to see. They were just so beautiful, and they're called the downstairs socks. It says, I run around a lot, racing up and down the steep, narrow stairs of the cottage. Vintage pattern motifs are my obsession, and this arrangement is my favorite. Vertical panels alternate between a small, sweet OXO pattern and zigzags that mimic the stairs I mustn't dash up. How do I hold my yarns when the background and colors switch places within each round? I make a call. I keep the light to the right because it rhymes, so it's easy to remember. And there are the downstairs socks. They are so fun. I love the motifs and the colors she used. To me, I was just like jumping out of my seat with excitement. And then you can see the chart there. So this book and the other one from Lawn were very inspiring. And then I am a fiber arts teacher at some local nonprofit art centers here in Traverse City area and Glen Arbor, Michigan. And I do a lot of summer program development and teaching, and then after school enrichment classes for students, since they don't always get a lot of time to do art in the public schools. I was talking to a mother yesterday who said they're basically down to 1 hour a week of art in schools. So I love sharing my passion for the fiber arts and arts in general with my local community. As an artist who works by themselves all the time in their studio, it gives me the chance to connect with my local community of artists and designers. So I bought this book here for my students. It's called Katie Howes is the author, and I met her. And the book is called Be a Maker. And so I read this to my students yesterday for their last day of class, and they loved it. When I first came across the book, I was like, I really want to buy it, but there's so many other things I'm buying today. But I figured I had to get it. I'm probably going to read this to every one of my classrooms from here on out. She wrote on the front cover page, she said, "Happy teaching, you make the world a brighter place, Katie Howes." And the illustrator was not there, but her name is Elizabeth Vakovic. And just to read you the first page, it was, ask yourself the question in the morning when you wake. In a world of possibilities today, what will you make? So I thought it was just so sweet. The illustrations are really playful and jovial, and the color usage is just wonderful. It says, make a tower, make it tall, make it balance, wobble, fall. So yeah, and the whole book just has this lyrical, playful, rhyming beauty to it. It says, make a mess or make instead a universe inside your head. It's like a little girl dreaming up all these wonderful things. So it gave me chills to read in the classroom yesterday. And she also offers free 15-minute Zoom meetings with classrooms to kind of talk about her journey as an author and working on these amazing books with illustrators. So I'm definitely going to do that for one of my classes coming up for my students, and I think they would think that's really cool to meet a real author. So that was pretty much everything. There was one or two extra little goodies I got. Jamie Harmon was someone I met last year at Rhinebeck, and she had this adorable sweater called Rainbow Ridge in her booth last year. And it was a very simple raglan sweater, white, with garter ridge stripes about every 3 or 4 inches on a very simple raglan, in her beautiful dyed colors. Her yarns are so beautiful. When you walk past her booth at Rhinebeck, it's just like an explosion of color and beautiful yarns, and fun patterns that are just jovial and bring a smile to your face. So I brought this mini skein sket to go along with the sweaters. So she is working on the gray yarn for me, and she's gonna mail it to me here because she didn't have it in her booth on Sunday, which is so nice of her. And she helped me kind of make my own little mini skein set. So I picked out all the colors that I wanted to be in the sweater. And I'm just real excited about this. It feels amazing. I think it's alpaca. It's probably like a worsted weight. It's pretty chunky. So I think it's gonna be a really fun knit. After knitting the tessellated, I needed a palette cleanser sweater to make. And I think the Rainbow Ridge is gonna be so fun. And instead of doing the white one, I'm going to do the gray with the rainbow stripes. So yeah, I'm real excited about that one. So that was the last yarn purchase. I showed you the tools. I showed you all the fun things. Now I will show you what I'm working on making currently, which is the beautiful West Knit Make Along. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab it. So Stephen West, earlier in October, released his first clue for the Make Along, and I did the Pink Queen Yarns version for my first step. And my color selection was Let's Stash Dive, because we got lots of stash to use up, and I thought it would be fun to just pull from what I have already. And seeing it on camera is really fun from a step away because I've just been looking at it so close up. But I am on clue 2 right now, so I'm about a week behind, and I'm okay with that. The tessellated sweater took some priority. I wanted to get that done. So I'm on the eyelets right now, and I'm going to be working on this section till I get 6 garter ridges and 6 lace ridges, and then I'll be able to start the beautiful clue 3 because I couldn't hold back by looking at it. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, don't look, but clue 3 is a beautiful, I would say it almost looks like mock cables that are gradated, and the texture almost looks woven to me. It's almost like weft heavy if you were to think of it in weaving terms, and it starts to create a triangular shawl design. Clue 4 comes out tomorrow, and I'm really excited to see what that one's all about. So yeah, the West Knits Make Along is a lot of fun. I'm using a bunch of different yarns from my stash I did do the mohair dare and threw some white mohair in there. It's perennial that I've had for a long time in my stash. Some, what was it, Fino, by, I think it's Manos de Uruguay. And yeah, I'm in La Bien-Aimée, this hot coral I bought online. So yeah, really excited about it. I'm not in a rush to finish it, but I would like to get at least half of Clue done by this week. Clue 2 done by this week. So that's what I will be working on for the next week or so. I'll come back in podcast and share my progress on that. And then also the start of either my no frills sweater or my Stockholm or Oslo sweater by Petite Knit. And hopefully I'll be able to finish what I've been spinning so I can start to play with my new fun party in a bag, and see what happens with this. This is like gonna be a really fun, unexpected knit once it's all spun up. So I appreciate if you came along to see my very first podcast. I hope to do this once a week and share my creative outlets with you. I'm not just a knitter, so it'll be a combination of weaving, spinning, and embroidery work. And I think it's going to be a really fun creative outlet for me to just share a little bit of my journey. I'm thinking of this as kind of a diary or a day in the life just for myself. So it's a time for reflection for me to sit here and look at all of the beautiful things that I'm creating, but also inspired by. So thanks so much for joining me, and until the next one, bye.